Joe talks about Joe. And now, your host, Joe Slepsky.
Hello, and welcome back, listeners, to Joe on Joe Extreme! And man, we are rolling this season with another really fun episode today. It's Season 2, Episode 2, entitled Operation Underground. It is chock full of character stuff, background on Scar, continuity stuff. It is an awesome episode written by Marv Wolfman. So I am so excited for this episode to bring on my guest today, who is a new friend. He's a listener of the show. He's got his own podcast out there, and he's calling in from San Diego. It's Dave Cabal. You know him as @RetroCabal on social. Dave, welcome to Joe on Joe Extreme.
Extreme. Hey, Joe. Thanks for having me, man.
Oh, man, I'm really happy to meet you. I've enjoyed chatting with you on social. You do some great posts and conversations on social. So the opportunity to get you live on the podcast, I could not pass it up.
Yo, Joe, man. Hey, I look at you, Joe, as like the talk show of G.I. Joes. You know, you're able to talk with all the fans out there and kind of get a variety. I love the show that you have and get to meet all different voices and stuff like that. So you're a great interviewer of all the G.I. Joe people out there.
Well, that actually means quite a bit, Dave. I really appreciate that, and that is what I'm striving to do with this show. It's I want to show that we got G.I. Joe fans from all walks of life, and let's see what you're up to, because what connects us all is our love for G.I. Joe. So you've got a huge love for G.I. Joe, but you were told me you were born in 1990.
Yes. Yeah, that's my year. I'm the I know there's a lot of 80s Joe fans out there, but I was that kid that grew up, in 1990, and the stuff that I was picking up off the shelves was the 1993 Joes, the 1994 Joes. So I completely missed the 80s, but I did watch the Sunbow series on the USA Cartoon Express. They would show that and the Deke series.
Amazing.
So I had the best of both worlds, and plus my dad was my other G.I. Joe partner, and he was the one that kind of preserved all of those 80s toys and all the figures.
Was he into G.I. Joe?
Yes, heavily. But it's just been me and him.
You know what?
Yeah.
Okay, 4 years into the show, I think you're our first second generation guest, like a full on adult second. Because our friend Troy Smith, he had his kids on, but it was his passion that he's introducing. You're a straight on G.I. Joe fan from your dad.
Yes, like he's the guy that my dad served in the military as well. He's in the Navy. He's retired now. So I had that experience of he would take me toy hunting at an early age, and pretty much I took that on, and I do that now with my kids, and it's fun. And we still do toy hunting to this day. We still text each other, hey, you looking for these, or know. So
amazing. So you have kids?
Yes, I do. I have 3 girls.
Oh, delightful.
I got Scarlet, Lady J, and Covergirl.
And are they old enough to be into understand G.I. Joe, or?
One of them is 6 years old. The other is 4. The other is 2. So I'm trying to get them involved. We play with the Joe toys sometimes. So they get involved with Dad and playing, and I'm trying to teach them the right way, show them the right way.
That's fantastic, and that's the way we like it.
Yes.
Yeah. That's really great. Now, do you have any of the 94, 95, 96 figures? Do you have any of those from when you were a kid still?
Yes. Surprisingly, those figures are still hold up, man. The O-rings haven't died out, thank God, on those just yet. So I have most of all my collection. I am almost complete with that. I'm just missing some of the later stuff, like the Space Brigade aliens and those.
Oh wow.
The variants and stuff like that. So
yeah, those I do want to get my hands on. I'm not a massive toy collector, as listeners of the show know, but and when I do fill in the holes, it's more of the early stuff. But I really would love to get my hands on the aliens at that last run, because
Yeah.
they're crazy.
They are, that's what they're all about. Like, they're crazy. The colors are crazy,
Mhm.
and it's I know a lot of the older Joe fans. They look at those later years as an eyesore, but
Yeah.
that's my year. That was my Joe.
Sure.
Like, I was,
Everyone's
yeah.
usually people's favorite thing is the time they were introduced to it.
Yes.
Legion of Superheroes. My favorite era is the 5 year later era, and not just because it is superior, but also because it's the era that it was introduced to. So I have a fondness for it.
Yeah.
So did you have then? Were you a GI Joe Extreme guy then? Did you have
you
these,
know what?
or was it just Real American Hero?
Yes, I actually did. I did have them. I was probably 5 years old when I was watching GI Joe Extreme.
Extreme.
And I remember picking these guys up in the shelves, and they were on the pegs, and like they were just like these big, like, extreme figures compared to the 3 3/4 inch,
Like
and,
half statue, half action figure.
Unfortunately, I don't know where they are right now. Like, what listening to this show is getting me to scratch that itch of like rebuying these. Like, so
they're
like, I'm now, like,
affordable. They're on card for $15 on card. That's
not bad.
No, it's not bad at all. They are so affordable. Again, and there may be one of them out there or two of them out there that are really were rarer than others, and so they're more expensive. But when I've done my little eBay searches, these guys on card are super, super cheap. And when I've seen them in shows, and I haven't been to a show since I got into the Extreme, so I never really paid attention to them. But I recall seeing them on cards at like the Comic Cons that I would go to, and they weren't expensive. They were $10.
Wow. Yeah, man. So man, this show, you guys you're getting me nostalgic, man. You're getting me in that retro vibes. Right now.
I love it. Well, that's the next segue for us. So you're known as Retro Cabal on social, and you're very active on Twitter. I love it. Tell me about that. That's your handle. You started a podcast back in January. Got a little ambitious with it.
Yes. Yeah. Oh yeah. So listen, I'm just a fan, and I'm vibing off of G.I. Joeberg. G.I. Joeberg was one of the first G.I. Joe podcasts,
The
like
best.
you mentioned, that I kind of like was looking for a community out there to belong to, and so these guys took me, and they even had me on an episode.
Awesome.
And then from there, I got a hold of Joe on Joe, and I started to listen to your podcast, and I picked and choose like the episodes that I remember, like the Games Master, or like Springfield with Shipwreck. And so I was listening to those episodes, and I loved. So I'm really just like, and Steve, I had a talk with Steve, and I was kind of just asking me advice about, like, what should I do? I want to do my own thing, and so yeah, I just this 2020. I know it's been a rough.
It's been a rough 2020.
Oh man, but
man, real quick, I just had to buy something off of online that I normally would have picked up at one of the 6 or 7 shows that I'll go to during the year. I would have normally picked up for $2. I just had to buy a 5-pack on Amazon of collector cases because I thought about it, and I said, I'm never going to be at a show for the rest of the year. Like I needed like a Funko Pop protector for that sweet Smoking the Bandit Funko that just came out. And I'm like, I'm literally never going to be somewhere that I'm going to be able to pick this up for the $2 or $3 that I would normally pay. So now I have to buy a 5 or 6 pack for $18 because that's the only way I'm going to get it this year.
Oh man, that's a bummer, man. And hopefully we could reach out to each other, if we ever need anything, like Joe,
listen, if you ever need a Funko Pop 2-pack case, I'm going to have 3 or 4 extras. So,
Yeah.
So I didn't mean to interrupt you, but you were,
man,
so with 2020, you wanted to get into podcasting.
Yeah, it's 2020. 2020 was the year of just like, look, I'm just going to do it. I don't know where I'm going to start. I'm going to just get this. I have all these like stuff pent up, retro memories that I wanted to get out. So I did I don't think I'll ever do it again, but I did a daily podcast in the month of January.
A daily.
Yeah, that was tough.
It's ambitious, man.
Yeah, it was rough, and I was late. Like I was late on some days, so I had to catch up. But it was kind of just me getting started.
Yeah.
Me just like
Well,
kind of feeling
that's the way to
the
do
grounds for it.
Jump
Yeah.
in with both feet, man.
Yes, sir.
That is honestly the way to do it. Yeah, because you're the more you do it, and I'm joking. I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing with you, because
For sure.
it can catch up to you how fast it is. But the thing is that you did is you got your learning curve out of the way, because you probably by the first week you just did what some people would call 7 months worth of episodes. Some people would call 7 weeks worth of episodes. You did it in a week.
Oh yeah, man. Like the reshoots, I had to re-record some stuff. I was like kind of just like, okay, I need to start over. I was using the Anchor app, so that's what I was starting off on, because I don't have a computer. I kind of just had my cell phone with me, so it was kind of like a journalistic, kind of like a diary kind of thing of my retro memories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great, man. That's great. And I've helped a few people get launched on pods and stuff. And I think the production of it is such a factor into the creativity of it that a lot of people overlook. Like they'll say, like in your case, you have a love for retro toys or whatever. Or someone's like, I want to do a Knight Rider podcast and or whatever it is. And my brain, and I've always gone to, is like, and I've probably talked more people out of doing podcasts than I have to do helping them in them. But the thing is, think about sustainability and think about what are you going to be able to do at a reasonable level on a regular schedule, whatever the schedule is, whether it's weekly, monthly, daily, whatever it is. What is sustainable for you? Is it have you and a partner doing the show every week? That's great. It totally might be. Are you going to have trouble getting together with that person? Okay, then rethink it. Is it going to be having a superstar guest on every week? Well, you better have some connections to have superstar guests. Otherwise, you're going to run. You're going to run out of the 3 people that you happen to know within 3 weeks. So those kinds of things really are keys when you're doing podcasts, and a lot of people kind of don't think down that road. So it's so cool that you did it and jumped in and you learned those lessons, because you're gonna get back to doing it, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like it's been. I'm really excited. I just got my podcast cover done by a great. He works for Transformers, or he was the colorist there. His name is at Dimooch, Josh Perez, and I got a podcast cover done that was kind of homaging the 1993-94 GI Joe cards with the blue lasers.
Oh yeah,
kind of shooting out.
That's great.
So that's kind of my mission statement of like that's my era. That's the era that I'm kind of representing. I know, we all love the Hector Garrido, the fire background, but the blue lasers, that was my era of Joe. So that's something that I'm trying to get out there in the GI Joe community. I'm gonna be the guy that's gonna. And there's been others too that have been like highlighting the later 90s era Joes, but that's just who I am. That's the kind of I want other fans to know that there are other 90s GI Joe fans out there that are just as passionate as as all of the other fans.
That sounds perfect to me. That really sounds perfect to me. And what is very, very cool about GI Joe is that it does have so many iterations and so many versions, even within the Real American Hero stuff. There's the different years and different quote eras of it, that it leaves room for all kinds of fans. It's funny. And I know they're out there and I've seen them at the collector shows, but what I haven't run into a lot in doing this for 4 years is a lot of fans of the original Joe. Like, there's but I know they're out there. But I don't know how much crossover there was of dudes that were really into that then also migrated, and stuck around with the 3 3/4 stuff.
For sure. Yeah, no.
And granted, that really is a full generational difference, to be fair, because that started late 60s. So yeah. So I don't mean to judge that too harshly, but it's thinking about the generational stuff. That is the one thing we haven't really come across, because we've talked to a lot of guys who are like, oh, I loved Renegades, and I loved the Valor Venom, and and now we're doing Extreme, and we're slowly uncovering that there are some closet Extreme fans, and I am one of them. Not in the closet anymore in this, guys. I'm a fan of this. I'm a fan of this series, the cartoon series at least. I think there's obviously there's issues. The figures are the designs are a little extreme,
Right.
But so far, this show has absolutely won me over, and I'm here to say we need to get Hasbro to re-release this in a proper, good, cleaned up format, so that I'm not watching a bootleg VHS from Appleton, Wisconsin.
Oh, these are perfect, by the way, brother. Just watching this gave me so much, brought me back to 1995. I love the quality, man. I don't mind it, honestly.
Well, there's a warmth. There's a warmth to a VHS recording that is every time I throw on an old, like I don't have a lot of VHS tapes, but I have stuff like I have the original. I do have a VCR still set up. And I have not set up, but I have it. It's in the closet, but I do set it up occasionally, is what I'm saying.
Nice.
And I have my original Star Wars unaltered on VHS.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Right. So this is the only way that I can watch the stuff pre-special anything. And
that's amazing.
Yeah, and there's a softness, there's a warmth to it that really is. It's nostalgia. It's retro.
Yeah.
It's not as crisp, and that's okay, because then that hides a lot of the stuff that they knew they had a program for when they were doing special effects, or, in this case, they were doing animation. They knew that it wasn't going to be super high fidelity, so they could get away with stuff.
Yeah, enjoying it in its raw form, like that's where it is, man.
Yeah, it's not just aspect ratio. But having said that, when it comes to animation, I think it is easier to clean it up and still maintain a lot of that nostalgia feel for it. So, Hasbro,
yes,
if you're listening, if you're out there, how about some Extreme?
Extreme.
We should come up with it. Well, you know what? We should come up with a hashtag for that.
We need to. Yes.
Yeah. I think Extreme's too generic. It needs to be like, release the Extreme cut instead of release the Snyder cut. That's it, guys.
Release the Extreme cut. Yeah, there
hashtag you go. Release the Extreme cut. Should it just be Extreme? Release the no, yeah, because it's not a cut. You're right. It's just release the Extreme. Yes,
I love that.
And tag it to Hasbro. That's it. Dave, I'm so excited for this. We're recording this. This episode's going to drop in a couple weeks when we're recording this. I can't wait. I'm gonna save that tag for that week. So listeners, when you're hearing this, go on social media. Everyone tag Hasbro. Hashtag release the Extreme.
Yes. Amen, brother. I'm so glad you are at the forefront of this. I'm glad that you're giving G.I. Joe Extreme some light here.
Yeah, that is. Now I'm super, super happy right now. This is fantastic. And for the record, as we're recording this, let's see, today's the 3rd. So when this episode airs, ladies and gentlemen, 2 days ago, I just turned 45 years old.
Hey,
boom.
Happy birthday, brother. Happy belated.
Thank you. So, I just turned 45, and I'm still clamoring for a cartoon to be released that came out when I was 20 years old, and I'd never seen an episode until I was 44, and here we are. That's the state of the world we live in.
Hey, man. Yeah, that's super awesome, man. So you're a July kid.
July 13th.
Hey, my birthday is in July 15th.
Oh, well then this releases on today is your birthday.
Okay, I'm turning 30.
Well, happy 30th birthday. Literally today, guys, as you're listening to it. This episode is dropping on July 15th. Dave, happy birthday.
Hey,
holy cow.
We're celebrating it together.
We are celebrating it together.
This is our time, man.
So on the 13th, I shared this birthday with Harrison Ford, Jean-Luc Picard himself.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, Professor X, what's his name? Why am I blanking on his name? Patrick Stewart.
What a roster.
Oh yeah.
Oh my goodness.
And then there's someone else really cool, but it's Harrison Ford and Patrick Stewart. Do you have anyone famous on yours?
Not that I know of. I do know that Rob Liefeld is releasing his Snake Eyes Dead game on July 15th.
Yes, he is. So ladies and gentlemen, that's in the stores right now as you listen. Oh, Hey, wait, there is a third person, another person that I share a birthday with that is the most important here for our listeners. Matt Plossman, friend of the show, guest of the show. Matt Plossman and I share a birthday and share G.I. Joe love. So Matt, you're listening. Happy birthday, my friend.
Happy birthday, Matt. That's awesome, man.
Yeah. And yeah. So Snake Eyes came out today. So that's exciting. So you know what that means? That means that G.I. Joe Twitter is going to be buzzing. And it's going to be buzzing with Release the Extreme. # Release the Extreme. Everyone do it on all socials. Tag Hasbro, Release the Extreme. If that terrible Justice League movie can get a Snyder cut, I'm not even joking. We can get the Extremes properly remastered and released in some form. Maybe not on disc. I get it. But on streaming, on YouTube, something. Clean it up. # Release the Extreme.
Let's do it, man.
Dave,
Let's do it.
This is unexpected. This is what we're doing right now. This is totally unexpected. I love it.
Yes,
That's
sir.
what we're doing. That's what we're doing. So I'm excited. Dave, you got your video ready.
Yes, sir.
On social, people can find you at Retro Cabal, Cabal, which we discussed before we got on. That is your actual last name, which means
Yes.
Yeah. So someone in your family was like, I need to keep a secret.
Right. Right. That's
it's an amazing
that's
last name. I love it. It's an amazing last name. And while you're on the internet, guys, go to social for me. Go to Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at Joe on Joe Pod. Send me an email to joeandjoepod@gmail.com if you want to be a guest on the show. I've got this is episode 2. We've got about 11 episodes left for Extreme. And just like Dave, you're not only going to get a copy of this episode, I'm going to share that link with you, but I've also got all these on a Google Drive. So Dave is now watching every episode of Extreme.
Yes.
You're going to be able to watch every episode of Extreme if you come on and be a guest on the show. I want to fill the show up with real G.I. Joe fans. Maybe if you're not an Extreme, maybe you've never seen an episode of Extreme before. It doesn't matter. I promise you, they're really, really good. And today's episode is no exception. Today's episode written by Marv Wolfman, Operation Underground, Marv Wolfman, Teen Titans, Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Yes.
Marv Wolfman is amongst so many other things, he is a legend. If you guys watched that giant DC 5-part crossover they did this year of Crisis, Marv guest starred on it. They gave him a scene with Barry and Supergirl, the 2 characters he killed during Crisis. And he's a sweet dude. He's a hell of a guy. I've met him a few times out here in California. And he's a brilliant writer. And today's episode is a lot of fun. So I'm excited. We're going to get into it. Dave, get ready with that.
Yes.
Get ready with that video, listeners. Get ready with your videos.
Right.
And here we go. So, as we learned in last week's episode, this season 2 doesn't seem to, at least the copies I have, they don't seem to have the live action intros that the other ones have. Yeah. Disappointing. Yeah. But I get it. If that was really expensive, I get why they would cut it out. And to reiterate, we have also renamed Ballistic as Eagle Eye and given him white hair now. So he's got a redesign.
Really?
Yeah, he's got a redesigned look, or he's just a new character. The Wikipedia seems to say that it's a renamed Ballistic. Operation Underground, written by Marv Wolfman. Yeah, I figured it was just a new character, but Wiki says that it's actually Ballistic renamed for some unknown reason. So this episode is really cool. It takes place in New York. It's very reminiscent of Die Hard 3, which had come out, which I believe had come out at the time. And it starts out with a slam bang bombing in New York, some big explosion, and in this unknown bad guy kind of cheers, and then he proceeds to climb up the side of a building like a monkey. And that's important, kids, for later on. So now we're in this underground Scar recruitment meeting, which is awesome. This is shades of early Cobra.
Yes. It's very like they're very like so stringent and kind of like, are you ready? Are you ready for this? Are you with us?
Well, here's what's weird. Okay, so Die Hard with a Vengeance came out in 95, and this was 96. So this might have been concurrent with that, but it's got a lot of Die Hard with a Vengeance vibes in this episode. So this guy, whose name is Sam Simeon, which is awesome because they make fun of him like a gorilla the whole episode. Yeah. He says he blew up that bomb earlier, but for anarchy reasons. He says he has no reason. And the guy, the recruiter for Scar, chastises him, right?
Right.
To say, we need a purpose. Here's my only question about this. What is Scar? Do you know what Scar stands for?
No, I do not.
Soldiers for chaos, anarchy, and ruin.
That's funny, man.
Yeah,
that's kind of.
So if they're for anarchy, then why is he upset that the guy was practicing anarchy and blowing things up? You know what I mean?
That's two-faced, man. Come on. That's a little too much.
I feel like that's a little off-brand for Scar, like to rebuke that guy just because he didn't have a master plan. I feel like that's on-brand to be down with the anarchy. But we go to, this is the G.I. Joe team getting a new headquarters, because as we know, Joe Island was destroyed. And now they're going to, basically, it's the desert. It's in the desert. It's kind of like the desert pit. They don't call it the pit, but it's like the G.I. Joe weapons facility.
I love that this guy is buff. This guy with glasses.
This guy looks like Hank McCoy. This guy's Hank McCoy.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Right?
That's perfect. Yes.
Yeah. Without the blue fur, he's Hank pre-Beast.
There's like a gorilla themed people going on over here.
The way they draw, let's be honest, the way they draw all these guys, they all look like gorillas. They all have tiny heads, giant shoulders and chest. But it's funny because that Sam Simeon guy, he apparently that gets his goat. And remember, Clancy is actually Iron Claw here.
That's crazy, man. I can't believe they went forward with that.
And they keep it. Yeah. And it's pretty great. So now we see that there's a spy network like of satellites that the Joes have, that they're monitoring the whole all the trouble spots around the world. Clancy's trying to reiterate that Scar is no longer a threat, even though he knows better because he's really Iron Claw.
Yeah.
This is, and Scar's head is so small there. But yeah, this is, it just is. It's funny. I noticed that whenever, in order to keep the scale that they drew these overly muscled guys at, but to make them look more pedestrian, they end up with these tiny heads, because the giant heads of the soldiers look good. You know what I mean? Because they're in proportion. Yeah. But when they draw a civilian, they always have these tiny heads, and that's kind of the shorthand to say they're not the superheroes that the Joes are, or that the Scar agents are. Nice,
good observation, man.
And so now here's this. We're introduced to this. This is the first time we've been introduced to this. This is the Council. Which is
this the Cabal?
Yeah, well, yeah, this could be the Cabal, Dave. You're absolutely right. This could be the Cabal, and it's the people, it's the power brokers behind Scar.
Oh,
and this is a cool idea that it hasn't been on the show yet, and I think they got from the comic book, the Dark Horse comic book. I haven't done episodes on it yet, but I just finished rereading the first miniseries, and in that, Scar or Ironclaw is definitely like a subordinate in the organization, and he makes a power play to kind of run it, but he's answering to people.
We want you to go to New York at once.
Wow.
Yeah. So the gimmick is the show is all these bombings in New York. They're going to send Metalhead in undercover, and this part is where it breaks down a little bit. He's going undercover with a rock band for whatever reason. I have absolutely no idea.
I was getting Cold Slither vibes, brother.
Yeah, Cold. Yeah, I definitely felt the Cold Slither. I definitely felt the Cold Slither vibes, and I appreciate that. But I think it's just funny and weird. Like, he can't just go to New York and investigate it. He has to infiltrate a rock and roll band who, so far as we can see, has nothing to do with the bombing plot. They're just a band.
Right.
They just need a guitarist. They need someone to lay down some hot licks.
That was kind of funny.
Yeah.
I realized that. Like, they wanted to show off. They wanted to show off, what's his name, Metalhead, aka Rock and Roll.
Right.
You know. I by the way, I totally agree with you with the whole analog thing, of like, these are analogs of the G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
Like, Quick Strike is like Alpine, Black Dragon, Snake Eyes,
Yeah.
Lieutenant Stone's either Duke or Hawk.
Yep.
And then Metalhead This scene, by the way.
Oh, this is awesome. This is awesome.
Oh my goodness.
And okay, so I'll say this: we've just done 3 amazing episodes with, like, I would say almost 0 flaws in them. This one does take a step towards the flawed.
Look at Black Dragon going zigzag
in the
right
skateboarding. Yeah, so Black Dragon and Quick Strike were sent to accompany Metalhead on his infiltration of New York City. And this early part is where the episode breaks down, I would say. Once they get into it and start, like, the train action,
Quick
it's
Strike
better.
and Metalhead clapping over that.
Yeah, they're so
that's so
excited
funny.
that he just impressed a bunch of strange kids on the street doing skateboarding.
Oh man,
It's wild. There's a lot about this episode that doesn't make a lot of sense. Also, if they are going undercover, I guess there's no reason they could be undercover and still be in the military, but they are flagrantly wearing their dog tags out.
Oh yeah, definitely. And Quick Strike is pretty much still wearing his
Quick
his
Strike
studs.
Quick Strike hasn't changed at all. Black Dragon was called Snake Eyes. Black Dragon is in civilian gear and he's wearing his dog tags out, which isn't necessary. I would think if they're going to redraw him as civilian, just let him be civilian. And Quick Strike hasn't changed a bit.
I noticed about Black Dragon that he has, if I'm not mistaken, a new voice compared to first season. He sounded more of a like Asian in the first season, and then in this season he has like more of an American accent.
That's funny you say that, because I think he was. I mean, if I remember his file card, he is definitely Asian American in it. Even though he's got like the blonde hair, he definitely he had an Asian name. And they're not portraying that at all in this. He is blonde-haired, like he's a surfer boy in this, as much. Well, we're going to commercial. We're going to be right back.
Awesome.
Listeners, I know what you need in your life. You need more podcasts. And you also love movies. So why not do a podcast that's about not one movie. It's about not 2 movies. It's about 3 movies and a meal. I'm talking the Movies and a Meal podcast. This show is great. It's brought to you by Keith, Brad, and Ben, and each week they bring a new movie to the table, which they all discuss as a group. And it's not, your highfalutin movies. It's What We Do in the Shadows, The Fantastic Four, Rise of the Silver Surfer, and Out of Sight. It's Bad Education, Ghost Rider, and A View to a Kill. It's X-Men Last Stand, Queen Sugar, The Mandalorian, and Major League 2. They are a lot of fun to listen to. You guys know Ben. It's our friend Ben Pensarga. He was a guest on Joe and Joe. In fact, Ben was the very first remote guest that I ever had on this podcast, so he's always got a special place in my heart. I'm really digging this. I just started listening to it last week. It is a lot of fun. They bring a guest in. The guest, I listened to their Heathers episode. They were joined by Kelly, and she went in depth on her favorite movie, which was Heathers, and it made me want to go watch Heathers to watch with them. I really dig it. So guys, find them out there at Movies and a Meal, Twitter, Instagram. Their website is moviesandameal.podbean.com. They put out 1 episode a week. Give them a listen, guys. Support them. Let them know Joe on Joe sent you. I don't think you're going to be disappointed. It is quite entertaining. And now back to the show. Well, here's the band. It's called Bird Call Rock Band. And it might be that I think the second season there's a different production company. That's I noticed in the credits. And it might be also why they changed the look of Ballistic to that Iron Eagle or Eagle Eye guy.
Okay.
Because just making tweaks, like this guy's hair, by the way.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
The bass player with that flat top
party in the back
mullet.
Oh,
yeah, that is a mullet, man. That is wild.
I really love the art style, like the blacks, the inks on.
It looks, well, you know what? It looks good. And I would say this season seems to be more nuanced with it. There's more shades of it instead of not as harsh. I think the first season was pretty harsh. This one, you see a lot more, what would be like a gray tone. It's not gray, but like a gray tone on it. Yeah.
That rock and roll scene reminded me of Long Live Rock and Roll in the Deke season.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Like it kind of just reminded me of that whole vibe. Like in there. And this is a cool thing too, seeing like, rock and roll, aka Metalhead, going undercover and like actually doing what he loves to do to get in with the group.
Yep. But what does this group have to do with the bombing though?
Yeah,
that's my point.
Exactly. They leave right after.
Yeah, it's hilarious. But what does they have to do with the bombing?
There was no callback. I was expecting them to have like a rock show at the end, but there was nothing.
Right. And
That's it.
and they say that the manager got him the job. Who's the manager? Did we meet the manager? I don't think we did.
No.
Like I was expecting the manager to be like like Clancy or something, like our manager Clancy said that you're the nope. But now this is where it gets super diehard. Well, the whole thing is
they just leave. They just leave and they go straight.
Yeah, they
into
do.
it.
They totally leave.
Wow.
But now, though, I would say the second half of the show gets more awesome action-y,
Yes.
the train stuff and everything. But the whole band thing is crazy, but fun though. Fun, crazy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So Dave, you were telling me you work with you're a Christian school teacher and you work with the Bible Baptist Church out of National City, California. Is that true?
Yes.
Or you
Yes,
lying
sir.
to me?
Yep.
No.
No.
Tell me more about that.
Yeah, so I grew up in church. I grew up as a Baptist and all those things, and we at the same time, like I was a nerd for all of these things. So I would go to church and I would bring my GI Joes with me, and kind of just like I would pretend scenarios, and GI Joe was like my anchor, and as I was getting older. A lot of the guys they're into wrestling, they're into like other stuff, but like deep down, that's why I'm called Retro Cabal, because it was just me. Like I was the only guy that was into GI Joe. Like no one knew what it was. It was just me and my dad, and GI Joe was like my kind of like when you get home, like that was like my joy. That was like the stuff that motivated me. The characters, and kind of that's GI Joe had a big part in like kind of like my discipline and just like continuing on, finishing school, finishing college, and then at the church that I was, and then I come back to my home church to work there, and I'm kind of just like, hey, whatever you need me, I'm here to to help out. And from there I started to get involved with the children's ministry. Then they wanted me to drive a school bus, and then they wanted just I'm an every jack of all trades, master of none.
Well, that's a man after my own heart. That's how I've described my entire career of everything I've done. But I love it. And you were just saying that you would bring your Joes to church. I hadn't thought about this in a while. I used to do the same thing. I'm Lutheran. I was raised Lutheran.
Okay.
And
cool.
I wasn't a huge fan of going to church. Let's put it that way. So I would not only occasionally bring a G.I. Joe guy with me, but when we would be sitting there during the service, I would do two things. I would draw G.I. Joe action scenes.
Oh my goodness!
On the back of the week's pamphlet, right? And it was usually a cliffside scene where a lot of vehicles were attacking.
Yeah.
So I used to do that a lot on the regular, and then I would also imagine if Cobra was attacking my church, and this is Faith Lutheran Church on the south side of Chicago. If Cobra was attacking the church, how would they enter and how would G.I. Joe rescue him?
Oh my goodness.
Like literally I would sit there and I wouldn't be paying attention to any of the sermon or anything. I would just be looking around the church going, well, Destro would set up over there, and then Firefly would come out of that door, and so on and so forth. And I used to do that all the time.
That is amazing. Yeah, I would have those scenarios too. Like I would walk around my church parking lot and kind of just like, oh yeah, this would be where Ice Cream Soldier is, and this would be where Colonel Courage is. And, I love that. That's awesome to hear.
Yeah, we did the same thing. It's funny though, because your go-to is like Ice Cream Soldier and Colonel Courage. Like, great, it's great. Do you still have Ice Cream Soldier?
I do. I have those guys. I still have them. I have to send you a picture of. I had them all set up, all the 90s. I'm working to have a good shelf space, but yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, on the show, Black Dragon and Metalhead have caught up to the Sam Simeon guy, and they're on the train. They're on the L train, or what's not the L in Chicago. It's just the subway, and they're trying to get the location of the bomb from him. He's got the detonator in his hand.
Yeah, and Black Dragon goes, "Hey, come on, Monkey Man."
Yeah, and they're calling him Monkey Man, which is going to get under his skin. Yeah. And Quick Strike, he's still looking for the bomb.
Yes.
And it's so Die Hard with a Vengeance, which is one of my favorite action movies of all time. Probably my second favorite Die Hard movie.
By the way, the bomber guy, I don't know about you, but I was getting, you mentioned Firefly. I was getting Firefly vibes off this guy. Just crazy bomber, like wanting to just, I don't know if you had the same, like he reminded me so much.
And so that bomb just went off, and we're going to commercial. We'll be right back. Today's Filecard feature is on something a bit different because we've run out of characters, guys. For Extreme, it is. So we're doing the Spitfire, which is the battering platform. The Spitfire Battering Platform was first released boxed in the US toy stores in 1995. It comes with the operator Inferno version 2, and it has an actual firing missile and what they're calling a battle damage platform, which is a really cool play feature. There is actually a target on the front of it that if you strike it properly and you have Inferno or whoever is operating the platform sitting on top of that part of the platform, and it throws him off the machine. So basically, if it gets hit, the operator gets hit with it. I like that a lot. That's not an action feature that we saw a lot in G.I. Joe that I can recall. Even on the biggest playsets, things like the Terrordrome and stuff. I would attribute this to a little bit more like He-Man would have these kind of things where traps happen and people went flying and things like that. So to see that on a G.I. Joe toy, I like that a lot. I think it's pretty cool. It's gray with a greenish yellow, looks like a green missile. And I'm sure that's for, safety purposes to make it like, bright green. And Inferno, let's talk about him for a second. V1 Inferno was primarily red and black, and this version has a little more orange to him. And he's also got, instead of his traditional over-the-eye kind of laser headpiece, he's got one that looks a lot more like Deadshot from the DC universe. It seems to be a different mold entirely. He's not as hulked out as his previous one, and his face looks a lot less like the Vulture from Spider-Man. I wouldn't be surprised if this was a repaint from some other action figure line that they had going at the time. And so Spitfire version 1, you battering platform we salute you. Well, the vibe that I got from him was that like a pyro. Like, this guy's insane.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's the vibe I got him. Like, when I think of Firefly, I think of competent saboteur.
Right.
This guy is more like, you know what this guy is? This is Dennis Hopper in Speed, like the guy he's got an axe to grind and he just wants to blow stuff up. That's what I'm getting. This is very Dennis Hopper in Speed, but who also apparently looks like a gorilla. Yeah.
Come on, monkey man.
Yeah. So which is really like, we gotta image shame here. Like, that's what we're doing. So the bomb exploded, but it exploded pretty cleanly actually, and it separated the cars. So now Quick Strike is on the set of cars that's running wild.
Okay.
In the subway, and the other guys, they were in the cab, and they were able to get off on a separate track. So like now the Quick Strike train, which is not slowing down, is running off on its own. That's what's happening in the episode.
That's crazy.
And in Quick Strike is on the cars with civilians, and Black Dragon and Metalhead are with the bomber in the front of the cab. What's the front? The engine. That would be it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Should have had Brian Morrissey, if you're listening, my good friend Brian. He's actually a train engineer out in New York. I was like, I should have consulted him for some deep train knowledge.
Nice.
Oh, and here it is. Nobody calls me Monkey Man. Oh, that's great. And now we're into the era of cell phones. So it's not a radio. It's and that's important though. It's not a radio. They're on the phone.
Yeah.
He is straight up on a cell phone here, guys. That might be a first for a G.I. Joe cartoon. I mean it. That really might be a first for a Joe cartoon.
Wow.
And he called it a phone. He did not call it a radio. It looks like a radio, but he definitely called it a phone. That's great. So Dave, on Joe Extreme. I love to ask my friends and my guests if you could be a member of the Joe team, Cobra, Scar, Joe Extreme, whatever you want, whatever team you want to be on, a Dreadnought. What team would you be on? What would your specialty be? And what would your code name be? Have you given any thought to this?
Yeah, you know what? I would probably be on the G.I. Joe Extreme team.
You would be? I love it.
Yeah. And I would be, I mentioned that I was a school bus driver, so I would be their transportation guy.
Awesome.
If they ever needed an undercover school bus driver.
Yes.
And at the same time, I would just be just doing my research on all the like tactical information and stuff like that, and try to get the info. Kind of like Metalhead, probably.
I love it.
Just the tech guy and kind of just researching and all that stuff.
I love it. Oh, and they just found the bomb. There's a minute left on the timer,
Nice.
so they got to stop it. And what would your code name be?
Man, I don't know if I probably go with Retro Cabal, either Retro Cabal or Cabal.
Yeah, I think retro Cabal works. I think and let me throw this out there. You come with a disguised, because let's play on the word Cabal, like a secret, thing. You're a driver. You come with a bus.
Yes.
And it's not a full-on transformer, but it's like a transformer where it looks like a school bus, but because you're hiding the secret is it's actually a heavily armed Joe vehicle.
Nice.
So you know what I'm saying? And it looks retro. So it looks like an old school bus. And that's why they call you Retro Cabal. Because we got this. Oh, we got this, Dave. We totally got this. You make a point of your bus looks so decrepit and so run down that it's retro, and people are like, look at that pile of junk, like blah, blah, blah. But it's really state of the art. And then you flip a bunch of panels and, transform a bunch of stuff. And all of a sudden it's surprise, a big bad, fighting machine.
Oh man, that would be such an amazing action figure playset.
Yeah,
Joe.
That's what you are. You're Retro Cabal, and you drive the.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for that. That's a great
you're welcome. The
description.
Cabal bus. What do we want to call that?
Oh yeah,
we'll figure something out. Look
at this scene right here.
Well, this is great. So the Joes, they captured Sam Simeon,
and then he looks back.
Yeah,
and then
it burns, and they find a Scar recruiting form on it. This is where I love it, because it's apparently self-destruct, or Metalhead is heat vision. But what we get is this: there's a voiceover audio of the Scar recruiting guy, and that's just for our purposes. And it's basically like it's talking to all the disenfranchised people of this universe, saying, join Scar. It's
so
really
crazy.
cool. Like it, take out. I will say this: take out the joining a band part of the show. That seems silly.
Yeah. I know, right? They gotta get Metalhead to play to jam on the guitar.
Yeah, maybe there was a bigger plot point, or maybe they're gonna bring him back or something, or I don't know. And to be fair though, G.I. Joe does have a rich history with music, like you said, with Cold Slither, and there was the DIC band that Metalhead was a part of, and the guys singing the singing with what's her name in the master, or the Pyramids of Darkness episode, so there's a history of music in G.I. Joe. There certainly exists in the same universe as Gem from Gem and the Holograms, so that's
there you go.
But a little misguided here for about 8 minutes of the show.
Oh,
and the skateboarding.
Yeah, I love that. I love like that over the top stuff with all the 90s shows. Like they do all those funny things, and it's so crazy. It's not even part of the plot, but it's just there, and it's just having fun with that.
You're right. It is having fun with it, because we're going to New York. We're going to stop a mad bomber. We're going to infiltrate the city. But before we do that, I'm going to impress a bunch of strange 12-year-olds with my skating ability.
Oh, Black Dragon.
I mean, that was great. That's dynamite. I think I have the name of your transport. I think it's the Yellow Monster.
Oh, that's perfect.
That's what they call call your bus. They call it the Yellow Monster because it looks like a monster, and it and it is a beast. I think it's the Yellow Monster.
Joe, that is awesome, man. I love it.
Awesome.
I need to draw this now. I need to draw and you. Me and you. I'll draw me and you, and it's gonna be extreme style. This will be awesome.
I'd love to see it. Well, Dave, this has been a real delight, man. This is just dynamite. Yeah. Thank you so much. I can't wait for you to get going back on your pod. I can't wait to tune in and give it a listen. Listeners,
thank you, Joe.
Yeah, follow Dave. Follow him at Retro Cabal. Go online and do it. And most importantly, out of today's #release the extreme.
Release the extreme.
Release the extreme. Send that to Hasbro, guys. Hashtag release the extreme. Dave Cabal, or should I say Retro Cabal, driver of the Yellow
Cabal.
Monster.
Yes.
Thank you for being on the show today.
Joe, thank you so much, man. It's an honor to be on here, and I really appreciate all that you do for the GI Joe community, you know, and I'm guys, this is the man right here, you know. He's so friendly and just such a great guy, and very, you know, I love that you came up with a bio for me for my role in GI Joe Extreme. So that was awesome, man.
Oh,
Joe, thank you so much, man. I had a lot of fun, brother.
Dave, it's been my pleasure. You're warming my heart. You're too kind. And listeners, we'll see you next time, because now you Joe, and Joeing is half the battle. Extreme!
Extreme! Roll call!
And that's the way I like it.